Welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. I'm Carolyn Shearlock, here with tips, reviews, and how-tos for your cruising adventure. The Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by SeaTech Systems. SeaTech Systems offers cruiser-tested solutions for weather and communications, whether it's satellite, Wi-Fi, cell, or single sideband. SeaTech's packages are simple and affordable. Get free shipping through July 2018 with the code GALLEY2018 at checkout. Slow down, slow down. Shopping by example is a technique we first employed on Catal, our first cruising boat. We bought it in Mexico. While we had a copy of Kathy Parsons' excellent Spanish for Cruisers, we still couldn't always get exactly what we needed. Oh, the frustration as we'd bring our treasure back to the boat, only to find that it was just a tiny bit different from what we needed. And thus began what we called shopping by example, taking along either what needed to be replaced or the parts that something had to fit into. We could test and check right there in the store. And even with a language barrier, the clerk quickly got what the problem was and would find the correct item. Now, on Barefoot Gal, when we first bought it, the nearest hardware store was 12 miles away, and the nearest marine store is about 50. There was no language problem, and clerks at both the local Ace Hardware and West Marine were incredibly knowledgeable and helpful. We didn't want to make multiple trips back and forth. And so, we began shopping by example again. One of the first things we did was heading to West Marine for cables for a board charger, and also for pencil zincs for the heat exchanger on the diesel. The cables weren't really a big issue as far as fit, but the zincs were. So Dave just removed the one that was currently in the heat exchanger. There were no spares on the boat that first time. And instead of trying to measure a partially worn zinc, we just took it with us. We got perfect replacements. Later, in trying to hook up a new propane gauge, we almost followed our rule and took parts with us. Dave assumed that one connection was standard and he didn't have to disconnect the regulator to take it with us. Wrong. We brought back parts that didn't fit, so he had to quickly remove the regulator and make another trip back to the hardware. Then, the next day, when he needed replacement screws for stove repair, Dave just ended up taking the whole stovetop with him. He'd had to drill out some old screws, so we couldn't accurately measure what was going to be needed. Of course, they didn't have exact duplicates of one machine screw with an odd head that had been used, but we were able to find screws that worked. This time, in just one trip since we had the stove with us. I can name many other things where shopping by example has worked well. But anyways, we now employ it virtually every time we go to the store. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please be sure to subscribe in your podcast app. Just search for the Boat Galley Podcast. And reviews are always appreciated. Until next time, then. Slow down, slow down.